It's been really educational, not to mention brilliantly entertaining riding this bike. Again, the nearer I get my shoulders to those bars, the better this bike goes. So while I feel like I've been in danger of eating shit more on occasion, the shit eating grin is definitely considerably bigger on this SB135. My name's Guy Kesteven. I've been a professional bike and kit tester for over 25 years, and today I'm first riding the Yeti SB135, the self-professed Dopamine Machine. So, what is it about this SB135 that makes it, according to Yeti, the most fun bike they've made? Oh, it's simple really. In a world that's going full 29, or at least mullet, MX, whatever you want to call it, 29 front, 27.5 rear, this SB135 is super rare, and it's one of the only double 27.5 bikes that have launched not only this year, but for as long as I can remember, to be honest. So instantly, you're sitting the bike on a slightly lighter, slightly less stable, so more responsive wheel setup. And the flip side to that is that because you've not got that shallow contact angle, the wheels do just feel a bit blunter. Suspension, even with this 160mm factory 36 up front, does feel just a little bit more tappy, and you've not got that speed stability of the larger wheels either. So it rolls a bit slower over the chunkier stuff, and you've not got that sort of gyroscopic stability of the bigger wheels either. But what I'm noticing straight away is how much easier this bike is to chop and change lines on. Definitely having to adjust because you can't just hang that front wheel in there, but in terms of being able to lean it, play around with it, feels super responsive. And what's really interesting is that Yeti haven't compensated for that in the geometry. They haven't fitted it with a slacker head angle. So even on this lunch ride, which is always Yeti's more progressive option on their bike builds, so you get a 160mm fork rather than a 150, it's still 65 degrees as opposed to 65.4 standard. And you could just feel, along with the tighter wheels and a deliberately low slung frame, this bike just wants to jib and hip everything. As much as an old geezer like me can jib and hip anyway. Really having to concentrate to keep that front wheel online. But on the last bike, sorry Neil, forgot about that bit. When you got a hang a peg turn like that, super responsive. So really keen to get your hips active, get you totally involved in the steering. Proper little pop and play of this bike. So very glad that they haven't just gone grippy with the acid guys, they've also gone Exo Plus, both ends. So you got that Assegai front. You can actually drop the pressures enough to make the most of that grip and that agility. Whoa! Oh, hello. New line. Bucket. Bucket, bucket. Oh, this is a thriller. Yes. Oh, push the last bit. So good. And the rest of the geometry is nice and agile too. So you've got 435mm back end. I mean, they're all proportional to the sizes of the bikes. And then on this lunch ride, reach is slightly shorter. It's also shorter than the SB140 29er. So 475 on this bike, 478 on the standard 135. But stack height is actually a little bit bigger than the 140. And then with a 76.5 seat angle, it actually feels quite short. I don't know, it's just the wheel dynamic makes it feel kind of more short and BMXy, just the way it snaps its head round. Just really responsive. And then of course, it being a Yeti, we need to talk about the suspension. Switch Infinity. I mean, I've raved about it pretty much every time I've ridden it. That unique architecture where the main pivot slides up and down on those little Fox Kashima shafts, which totally changes the direction and behavior of the suspension halfway through its stroke. So basically that's about 75mm of travel. It's getting quite it's getting more sort of pedal reactive, more pop, more drive, and then once you get it deeper into the stroke, everything starts falling away, opening up, and you get that mad kind of mix of power stroke there, which is super supported, and a fantastic mid stroke for making the use, whoa, slide of these smaller, more aggressively responsive wheels. And then that amazing end stroke with all that block eating, gripping capability. So, well, mechanically it might not be quite as smooth as the 29er bikes. This feels so poised and so gripped down here, even with it dusty and loose today. And then with that responsive handling, it's just such a joy to rail. Oh boy. And well, Switch Infinity's been going for a while. This latest generation gets a load of upgrades, so you've got collet bearings throughout now. You've got updated, tougher, shorter linkages. You've got better seals on the shafts and sliders, and the whole thing comes with a lifetime warranty. And it's a really practical frame as well. So you've got ISCG mounts for your chain guide, which on a bike as rowdy as this is really welcome. You've got You got fully captured internal cable routing with some really neat little chucks actually on the pivot head to hold the rear brake hose in place. Whoa! There you go. There's an example of just how tight that front end turns. Actually pulled it in far closer than I was expecting them, but the agility through there so much better than the last time came through on the 29er. Really nipped and tucked better through that tight slow speed section. Really is very different type of riding. Woo-hoo. Where am I going? Don't know. There you go. So again, short wheelbase, tighter turn, just nip it in easier there, and then properly into the steeps is still stable enough. Morning. Right, so this is an interesting little technical climbing challenge I've been doing with myself recently. Oh, it's not going to work like that, Kes. Or is it? Come on. Ah! No, we're going to go there again. Interesting little climbing challenge I've been doing recently. I've cleaned it on high pivot 29er and normal 29er, but just no. That second run now. Oh, not far off, but can see those 27.5s. Not quite the just automatic rollover of a bigger wheel, but then of course you've got SB120, SB140, SB160, and it's still an impressive climber with that switch infinity and that ability to accelerate quicker with those smaller wheels. So I actually don't normally clean that top bit, so that's interesting. Where acceleration and pop is what matters. 27.5 actually comes out better, where just simple roll up 29. And as well as switch infinity giving it a bit more drive and traction in the upper part of the stroke, you've also got a nice steep seat angle for climbing poise as well. So 76.5. This lunch ride, 75.7 in the standard 150 bike. And while it doesn't have that easy roll and smoothness of a 29er quite, that switch infinity suspension, and in that situation, the ability to tweak it round and save an absolutely dreadful line, which would have been a definite dab on a 29er, really marks this SB135 out as something special for the technical stuff. I'm blown away it just did that. I mean, I guess had the head angle been a little slacker or the wheel a little more stable, I might have stayed straight, but it certainly saved a situation I wouldn't have got back. I wasn't expecting to get back, just because front end's faster to come around, and it just feels tighter and more braced under power as well. So all these kind of strain and stall holds, you can get moving again. Ah, it's just nice having a different option. And from what I've seen on various forum threads about this bike, there's a lot of people who are excited that there is still a pure 27.5 option, not just mullet or 29, because they really like having that smaller wheel up front, and of particular interest to smaller riders as well. And Yeti have properly gone the extra mile there by creating a totally different frame layout. So on small and extra small bikes, the shock actually mounts on the down tube, not the top tube. So it's still got room for a bottle, even though standover and belly clearance are increased. This is the T3 version. You say lunch ride with that. I love the way it kicks about, even more in the air. Even when I'm taking off, I find it just flicks around more. That agility is just hilarious. Whoa, look at that. Now I'm getting used to it. The way it properly tucks, but you can still, woo! I'd never normally do that. Like, oh hello, what gear is that? I'd never normally do that. A little pop and hop. Oh, this is great now, properly getting into, and it's just the playability of this bike. I'm normally a bit kind of wound up on stuff like this, because I'm not a TikTok generation, short attention span, only 3 corners at a time, session kid. You know, I am an old fart who does full runs, but whoa, the ability of this to stay in the slot so accurately just feels like I've got more time and more precision actually to play around with the more fun lines, which wasn't what I was expecting from the smaller wheels. Yes, it's more responsive in many ways, but also because you've got that agility, I'm finding it easier to hit sections I'm normally nervous about. I can be more aggressive into them because I've got kind of more interaction. I'm not just sticking the big wheel in there and then surrendering. It's been really educational, and not to mention brilliantly entertaining riding this bike. Again, the nearer I get my shoulders to those bars, the better this bike goes. So while I feel like I've been in danger of eating shit more on occasion, the shit eating grin is definitely considerably bigger on this SB135. Let's go all the way down. Actually, that's the thing, it just, every time you finish a run, it's like, no, do the extra bit. Even if it doesn't amount to a whole hill of beans. You just want maximum run every time. That's got to be a good sign, right?
Suspension system.
And because you've got that Switch Infinity suspension system, you don't need to worry anything like as much about having smaller wheels when it comes to climbing, because the combination of traction and propulsion is just, it's properly next level. Yeah, without doubt, one of the best suspension systems around today. Almost unbelievable what you can get on this system. And of course, super controlled and rapid on the way down, because it just doesn't hang up like most suspension systems with that much traction do. It really is the best of both worlds. Although these 800mm bars do have certain issues when it comes to clearance, I'm very, very glad of them for making the most of the cornering ability of this bike. All right, more climb porn, just because I can and because my Petey's socks look super steezy in the pedalling look back on the 360 cam. Oh, hello. Oh, this is new. Not seen they'd done this. Oh, this is a challenge. All right. Game on, Ilkley. Yes, SB135. You! Ha! Such a good bike, this. This is really changing my opinions on 27.5. Because, you know, I'm OG 29. I was one of the first people to get really behind it. I mean, I rode Gary Fisher prototypes, Mountain Mayhem, back in 2000, when things were really wonky, and realised that, you know, smoother and easier rolling had its place. But 23 years later, seems like 27.5 definitely still has its place. If you're all about maximum agility, responsiveness and playfulness, but still with that awesome control, traction and easy speed you get from Yeti's Switch Infinity system, and this really complementary geometry. It works so well because it's a little bit tighter, tauter, steeper, shorter. They might be fashionable with smaller wheels. Proper ripper, this bike. It really is. Loving it on here today. So that's the live ride done. Hope you've enjoyed finding out about this SB135 as much as I've kind of enjoyed discovering going back onto 27.5 wheels. A lot of the things I expected about the bike definitely came true, but really interesting, that whole kind of accuracy side of that agility and responsiveness. That surprised me, to be honest. That, you know, the way you can feed it into such tight technical slots and just come out absolutely ripping. That really showcased superbly by this bike. And then of course you've got all the Switch Infinity and just the ride dynamics and the geometry just all packaged together brilliantly. So I'm going to do a quick technical talk round on the bike as well, talk more about those details so you can see them up close and personal, and obviously have a look at the SB120 video as well, and hopefully getting the SB140 to ride as well. Neil's been up from Silverfish riding his SB140 today, so super keen to get on that bike as well, because essentially that's this bike but with 29er wheels. But for now, massive thanks to Neil from Silverfish for coming up, bringing the bike to me. Thanks to Silverfish for supporting the video. Thanks to my long-term channel sponsors, Giro, PEs, Talk Nutrition, Hebtroco, and Enduro Bearings and Krog XL Fenders. And massive thanks, as always, to my Patreon subscribers who pledge on a monthly basis and whose support means a massive amount in terms of the sustainability of the channel and me being able to spend more time talking to you about bikes on a GoPro. So if you really like what I'm doing in the channel, please consider joining me on Patreon and becoming my subscribers on there, and you'll get early exclusive cuts and you'll get them ad-free as well. But for now, if you could subscribe, click for notifications and give this a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, that'd be splendid. That all helps with YouTube sharing my videos and the audience growing, which means I can make more videos, yada. But, you know, tell your mates about the channel as well, because, you know, your word of mouth is really important to making the channel go as well. But for now, I've been Guy Kesteven on Gary Kes TV, having an absolute blast on the fantastic trails put together by Ilkley MTB on Yeti's genuinely fun-focused, freakishly agile, but still superbly controlled and capable SB135.